For this project, we were given the art of ancient Egypt. We decided to specifically focus on the sarcophagus of the Old Kingdom, New Kingdom, and Middle Kingdom of ancient Egypt. Beginning with the Old Kingdom of Egypt lasted from 2186 to 2180 BC, and there are not many remaining sarcophagus from this time period. They were mostly made for high officials and pharaohs, as the Egyptians from this time period had not yet perfected their craft, and the making of these items were extremely expensive. The Old Kingdom sarcophagus, in comparison to the Middle and New Kingdom, are not as popular nor have many survived, but they are important to look at because we can see how sarcophagus in Egypt developed to the ones that archaeologists have excavated from other time periods. This specific sarcophagus belonged to Mendelbeth, the grandson of Pharaoh Khufu. In the article titled Ancient Egypt by Amiki Bart, she explains that the coffin was excavated on the east side of Khufu's pyramid in a chamber below. It is made of red granite, and there is only one inscription on the underside of the lid of the sarcophagus, which is an offering prayer asking that the king, through the god of Anubis, gives offerings to the deceased. Next, we will look at the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom, as per the name, was the middle era of the Egyptian Empire. This era was when northern Egypt and southern Egypt unified and turned into one empire. The Middle Kingdom was from the 11th dynasty to the 14th dynasty, which roughly started in the year 2050 BC and ended in 1652 BC. Sarcophagi, like seen on this page, from this time period, were typically made of wood, and many of the features on them were an attempt to depict the deceased, but were not very refined. These sarcophagi were usually meant for high officials or governors, but some have been found containing family of pharaohs from the Middle Kingdom. The article titled Iconography of the Rishi Coffins and the Legacy of Middle Kingdom, written by Gina Luca Manichu, takes a look at some of the noticeable features on the Rishi coffins of the Middle Kingdom. First off, as we see in the top left picture, headdresses on the coffins. These are important pieces of iconography which are symbolic for the Ba, the Egyptian spirit, to ascend to the sky. What is also interesting, as we see on the bottom image of the bottom half of the sarcophagus, people performing labor painted around the coffins, which is a representation of what the dead will need in an afterlife. We also see the bird design around the coffin in the top left picture towards the bottom, which symbolizes Re and the dead and the rising sun. These coffins were usually made by sarcophagus craftsmen who specialized in making Rishi coffins, which were the typical funerary art of this period. According to the source titled Places of Coffin Production in the Early and Late Middle Kingdom, written by Gragetsky Wolfram, the author analyzed different Rishi coffins from the Middle Kingdom and found that many sarcophagi belonging to high-ranking officials were made by the same workshop. Sarcophagi from this time period rarely had items placed inside. If there were any, it was small jewelry-type items. Some of the most famous Middle Kingdom coffins that have been excavated are from the cemeteries of Beni Hasan, the Asuyet. Along with these, cemeteries of the tomb of Sensura III have also been uncovered. For the New Kingdom, we decided to focus primarily on the sarcophagus of two of the most infamous leaders during this time period of power, prosperity, and wealth. To the left, we see the sarcophagus of Hatshepsut, daughter of Thutmose I. There is much speculation about the burial and sarcophagus of this father and daughter pair. The sarcophagus was made by Hatshepsut for her own use upon death. However, when she became queen, she began the process of enlarging this tomb so that it would suit her father, so he could be buried with her. Author H.E. Winslow argues in his essay, Notes on the Reburial of Thutmose I, that this was solely a very political action, as many people in the New Kingdom questioned the legitimacy of Hatshepsut's rule. With her father being reburied in her old sarcophagus and being placed right next to her when her time came, it is believed that this action was done by Hatshepsut to prove to the people that doubted her rule. The sarcophagus is made of red marble, and as we see, has many etchings and symbols to decorate it. Winslow puts forth a translation on one of the inscriptions that is on the sarcophagus, which reads, "The beloved divine wife, the king's daughter who he loves, Hatshepsut made this for her father in the name of beloved Osiris, lord of Abydos, which was added to the sarcophagus during the enlargement for Thutmose I. On this slide, we see an image of the goddess Isis on the top left, which is depicted on the sarcophagus. Isis was one of the most powerful goddesses that the ancient Egyptians worshipped, which is most likely why Hatshepsut chose to have her icon on the side. This image was on the original sarcophagus before it was changed to fit Thutmose I. The next two images we see on this slide is an item found in the tomb KV-20, where Hatshepsut and her father were to be buried. Archaeologist Dr. Carl H. Lesser showcases the find from KV-20 and explains the item on the bottom left to be a caponic chest, which was made to hold the organs of the pharaoh to be buried with them. The image with the symbol on the right that was found during Dr. Lesser's excavation reads, "This king, Ma-Ka-Ra, or Hatshepsut, who is inside, she is retired among you, you may carry her." Finally, moving on to King Tut. The tomb of King Tut was founded and excavated by Howard Carter in 1925, in tomb KV-62 in the Valley of Kings. King Tut's sarcophagus is different from the other ones we discussed because it's made from gold and gemstones rather than marble and wood. One of the most important discoveries was the death mask, which is pictured here, which is made of many different materials. Inside the shoulders of the death mask in the hieroglyphics was a story from the Book of the Dead. As William H. Peck describes in his research, The Papyrus of Nes-Min, an Egyptian Book of the Dead, there is an ancient spell which is inscribed in hieroglyphics on the mask's shoulders, or the backside. The face on the mask represents his standard image. He wears a head cloth that is topped by the royal insignia of Korba and a vulture, which symbolizes his rule over both Lower and Upper Egypt. The ears were pierced to hold earrings. The gold beard on the coffin was discovered in 1925 and was inlaid with blue lapis lazuli. It was found separated from the mask. The death mask is composed of gold and bears the likeness of Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife. The mask is constructed and contains many materials like glass and gemstones. The eyes are made from quartz and obsidian makes up the pupils. An interesting fact, as Jarrett Lobel states in his essay, Inside King Tut's Tomb, it has been speculated that the mask may have been intended for someone else, Queen Nefertiti. Her royal name, Akhenaten, was discovered, erased in a caricature on the side of the mask. On this slide, we see the full coffin of King Tut. We see the differences from the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom, as it is much more refined and made of many more materials. In conclusion, as we just compared the sarcophagus from the three kingdoms of ancient Egypt, we see the importance of the afterlife to this ancient civilization and how the sarcophagus evolved from the Old Kingdom with little to no decoration, all the way to the rule of King Tut and Hatshepsut, who put so much time, effort, and money into their sarcophagus.